What's going on, everyone? So the Los Angeles Lakers could really use an upgrade at the wing, particularly some athleticism, some two-way, like legit 3-and-D style. Love to go get an Andrew Wiggins, but as of right now, it just seems like he's off the table. Matisse Thybulle kind of seems to be the most likely candidate, but he's also 6'5", right? He does have that 7-foot wingspan. He is capable of defending 1 through 3, but I'd like somebody with a little more size, ability to rebound, hit the open three, be able to defend multiple positions. And one of the guys that I'd like to see the Lakers at least, do your due diligence on, right? Take a look, see what happens, right? Would be Harrison Barnes. Now, Harrison Barnes solves a couple needs, right? Gives you legit 3-and-D shooting, gives you some athleticism, gives you some size at either forward spot. He can slot in at the 3, he can slot in at the 4. He's a more natural 3 than Rui Hachimura is, but he's also on an expiring contract, so he doesn't mess with the Lakers, kind of cap preserves. And even if it works out and he's great, you can kind of re-sign him and have him be a guy that can be off the bench and the rotation and the starting, right? So like the Lakers could look to maybe go trade for a Harrison Barnes, bring in a Harrison Barnes. And then if they do later on down the road end up trading for, a Wiggins or somebody like that, Harrison Barnes can just be a rotation 3-and-D wing off the bench, right? Or let's say after this year, right, you go and you solve, say that small forward position. Maybe you're signing him to a new deal, and he can be, again, a rotation guy off the bench. Maybe sign him to a 1+1 with like a team option or something. Maybe even give him a little higher of a pay than you would otherwise, just to kind of convince him to want to, do that, because it's got to be incentives for him. Question is like, okay, what would it cost to go and acquire Harrison Barnes, right? Because also the thing is like, Lakers are limited in assets. Stop being limited in assets. It's like, who can you get that's not going to cost a fortune and break the bank? That's the other kind of element of it, right? And you look at Harrison Barnes, right? He right now is making $19 million on the dot. So Rui Hachimura is slightly less, $18.5 million. But maybe you could solve a couple needs, right? Maybe you could do, right? The San Antonio Spurs still have an open roster spot. They did have 2, but they just recently signed, a player to that spot. They signed David Jones Garcia to a 2-way, and then they brought in Waters from the Golden State Warriors, and then he went to Detroit last year. Lindy Waters, the third. So they still have an open roster spot. So maybe you could do something where I'd like to keep Rui, but then I don't think the Spurs are going to want to stack up guys, right? Like, I don't think you could do, necessarily like a Gabe Vincent and a, like a Maxi Kleba. I don't think that would incentivize them enough. And the problem is he's making $19 million, so you can't take back salary and do something like a Gabe Vincent and a Dalton Connect, right? To where you don't have the $4 million to absorb and take. So to me, if San Antonio would be willing to kind of work with you, or maybe you get a third team involved or something to where, you can clear salary, and because Lakers want to do a consolidation trade, maybe you can kind of do that while still landing Harrison Barnes. That's where I'd kind of look for the Lakers to try to get something like this done, if this is even an option, right? This is just, again, kind of my own thoughts of guys that obviously solve a need, can provide what the Lakers are looking for, but also open up salary space as well as kind of a roster spot or two to where we can fill guys. So you're not just swapping Rui and Dalton Connect for a Harrison Barnes. You're swapping a Rui and Dalton Connect for Harrison Barnes and, maybe an Al Horford or a DeAnthony Melton, Al Horford and a DeAnthony Melton, right? Because if you did a say Harrison Barnes for a Rui Hachimura and Dalton Connect, right? That clears a little over $4 million for you. So now the Lakers could take and have the cap space. Now they'd be, 5 and some change under that first apron hard cap, to where now you can, they signed Marcus Smart already. Well, now you'd have 2 open roster spots. Well, now you can go and bring in an Al Horford, bring in a DeAnthony Melton on, vet minimum contracts, and now you'd be good. Or bring one in, like, say DeAnthony Melton does end up going to the Warriors, right? Okay, well, you can bring in Al Horford on that vet minimum contract, or kind of be patient, because you do have to fill that roster before the season starts, but you can kind of be patient in filling that spot and, kind of wait. Nikola Vucevic is a guy that is rumored to potentially be getting bought out. So you could do something where maybe you bring in a Vu, you bring in a Harrison Barnes, and then also keep that kind of 15th spot open, which the Lakers historically like to do. And then as you progress into the season, right, you'd still have, $2.5 million or whatever in salary that you could go and then sign a guy, or after the trade deadline end up buying a guy, a guy gets bought out, you can sign him. Or if you pull off a trade at some point to where you land, an extra player or something, then you can kind of fill that hole. So that's kind of where I'd like to see the Lakers do a consolidation trade. Now, why would San Antonio want to do that? Right? Well, one, they're getting a replacement of Rui Hachimura, who's really good. He's also younger and kind of fills some needs in that spot, particularly at the starting four. Right? Rui Hachimura could actually slot into the natural position at the four. They also need shooting, and Harrison Barnes is like their best three-point shooter, so you don't want to lose him and not add shooting. Well, they'd be getting two shooters, right? You'd be getting Rui Hachimura, who can slot in and shoot the three ball and play the natural four spot, but also Dalton Connect, who gives you a young guy that can come in and slot it, right? I know people are going to look at, Harrison Barnes, being 30 or just turned 33, like absolutely not. But again, you got to don't look at it through a keyhole. Look at the entire image here. Like, you're bringing in a guy that's a better natural slot in three, who has experience, playoff experience, isn't afraid of the moment, has hit some big shots over his career. I mean, he was hitting game winners for San Antonio last year. Also gives you three-point shooting. I'll go over his stats here in a moment. He gives you a lot of the same production. Literally, look at Rui and look at Harrison Barnes. They give the exact same production. The only difference is Harrison Barnes is going to have a Luka Doncic and a LeBron James and an Austin Reeves to play off of, where last year, De'Aaron Fox came in late, and then even after that, yes, they had Chris Paul, which was beneficial, but they dealt with injuries and stuff, and Luka and LeBron at this stage are just better, right? So the quality of looks he would get would be excellent, but again, it's you maintain the cap flexibility, right? You're basically swapping expiring contracts. On top of that, you clear a roster spot, clear salary. So again, it's not just the keyhole look of like you're swapping a younger Rui for an older Harrison Barnes. It's you're swapping a younger Rui for a more experienced, helps you win now, Harrison Barnes, who also happens to maintain the flexibility and allows you to sign and solve other needs in other areas, right? You bring in an Al Horford or something. Now it's like, would you trade Rui for Al Horford and Harrison Barnes? Yes, that's because Harrison Barnes can play either forward spot, can solve a lot of things for you, give you shooting, defense, perimeter help, athleticism, right? He's still got good athleticism, right? And then you add in an Al Horford who can slot in at the 4 or the 5, give you floor spacing, give you all those things. So again, it's not just the keyhole look of like you're just swapping Connect, like Lakers are losing this trade. No, it's beyond just the players that are being swapped. It's Lakers get more experience, right? They get the athleticism they need. They get a guy that's better slotted in at the 3. They get an equally good three-point shooter, but a better defensive player. They get cap space and flexibility as far as roster spots go. It's just, I think it's something that would be fair for all sides, right? Spurs get a guy in Rui Hachimura that they can kind of see engage this year and see if he's a guy that makes sense kind of as part of their long-term roles. And they get a guy in Dalton Connect who can kind of give them some shooting, give them a guy that kind of fills in. I think it's honestly like a win-win for all sides. I think, Harrison Barnes going to a team like the Lakers, I think would kind of help raise that ceiling a little bit. It opens up opportunities for Jake LaRavia and guys like that. He's more versatile as far as like what you can do with him, right? He can still self-create, can knock down that little elbow. He can still do a lot of the same stuff that Rui does, but also stuff he can't. Right. So I do think that Harrison Barnes would be, I mean, even if you want to argue it's a wash or slight, let's say you think, Rui's slightly better. Okay. Then still, again, is he better than adding Harrison Barnes and again, an Al Horford or DeAnthony Melton or something, or Nikola Vucevic or something like that, right? It's more than just that. But what does Harrison Barnes do? Because like I said, he is very similar as far as production-wise goes, right? You look at what Harrison Barnes kind of brings to a team, again, with the shooting and all of that. I just think that he's a guy that, again, is very similar. So Rui Hachimura, again, just turned 27. He'll be 28 in February. But he was 13 points, 5 rebounds, and 1.5 assists on, be nice, say 51% from the floor, right? Harrison Barnes last season was 12.3 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists on 51% field goal percentage, right? It was 50.8 compared to 50.9. So 51% for both. So again, across the board, very similar numbers. Harrison Barnes, the last 3 seasons, has played all 82 games. You want to talk about ability? The best ability is availability. Harrison Barnes played all 82 games. Harrison Barnes, from the field, 51% overall, like I mentioned, on 8.3 attempts, right? You look at the 3-point percentage on 4.4 attempts, 43.3% last year. He's a career 38.5% 3-point shooter. So it's not really like an outlier. 2-point range, he shot 59.1% on 4 attempts, 62.2% EFG, 81% from the free throw line on 2.4 attempts, 4 rebounds, 1.5 assists, half a steal, half a block, and 12.3 points per game. If you look at Rui Hachimura, right, let's compare the stats and see what the difference is, right? Rui played 59 games last year. By the way, Rui's never played 82 games. The most games he's ever played in a season was 68 games, which was the 2023-2024 season with the Lakers. That was the most he has ever played in a season. But last year, 59 games, 32 minutes per game, 9.8 field goal attempts per game, on 51% from the floor. 4.2 3-point attempts on 41.3%. So again, the field goal attempts, the percentages are very similar. Harrison Barnes is slightly better from 3-point range on 4.4 attempts compared to 4.2 attempts. From 2-point range, 5.6 attempts, 58.1%. So again, very comparable. EFG of 59.7%, so basically 60%. Free throw shooting, 77% on 1.9 attempts, 5 rebounds, 1.5 assists, a steal, half a block, and 13.1 points per game. So again, I think that they're very comparable, and it does things for you. You get more athletic out on the perimeter. You get the 3-point shooting. I think it's very comparable. I think Harrison Barnes and Rui Hachimura are identical players as far as production goes. But again, Harrison Barnes is better defensively. He's a guy that's better switching, more athletic, right? He can help rebound. He can do things, especially if you start slotting him around guys that can actually defend, right? So anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.